Crypto has been heating up big time. You can feel it. The potential for some froth-fueled bull market craziness is bubbling up under the surface. I mean, come on. Even NFTs are starting to catch bid again, man. I mean, we haven't seen NFTs catch bid in a while, which is amazing. Of course, unless you're sidelined, in which case, of course, you might have been feeling some FOMO recently. Okay, you weren't paying attention, you panic sold earlier, whatever it might be. You're paying attention now and you're thinking, crap, why didn't I buy sooner? It must be too late. We all know that emotional trading is a killer of your profit and loss, and FOMO can lead to major mistakes if you end up top blasting and being exit liquidity for everyone who got in earlier. Does that sound like you sometimes? But at the same time, just because you haven't been hodling since the rock bottom or since 2010 or some BS like that, doesn't mean that you can't still profit from later moves in the market. There's still huge opportunity, especially considering just how unhinged later stages of markets can get. So, which is it? If you're not yet allocated, is it too late to buy? Or if not, how can you actually play the rest of the cryptocurrency bull market from here? And might it actually be advantageous to be sitting in cash at the moment? Well, let's discuss all of this in this video. I'll look at both sides of the argument here. And to start, let's consider the negative, or maybe just be sensibly cautious point of view here, which says that, you know what? You fucked up. You're too late. It's over. The move's already happened. There's no more money to be made in this market. Pack up, go home. Pay attention to crypto again in 4 years. Look, you're supposed to buy low and sell high, not wait until everything is pumped and then leap in when the risk-reward ratio is starting to skew to look, well, not so great. But let's just get some perspective on where we actually are in the cycle here. Bitcoin bottomed on November 21st of 2022 when it dropped to 15,000 and some change. So it's done a 10x since then. Not quite, but approximately. You could argue it's been in a bull market for a very long time, continuing to make higher highs and higher lows for almost 3 years now. But what about your altcoins? Well, the leader for altcoins is Ethereum, and it just put in a great run of daily green candles, but still well under its previous all-time highs. It's nice it climbed 180% or whatever from the $1,400 low back in April to this week's peak, but holy crap, ETH had its butt kicked this cycle. In case you didn't look, it still has not hit a new all-time high. Then there's Solana, which has put in gains of 117% in the same time frame, but did actually hit a new all-time high this cycle. Good. Normie favorite XRP this month hit a new all-time high. Good. Second one of the cycle. Nice to see. Well done, XRP. So look at all those incredibly bullish moves and then try to think everything you know about trading. Buy fear when the market is dead, sell into euphoria and greed. Don't FOMO in on the huge pumps, all that kind of stuff. Are any of these rules not urging caution right now? So look, you get the big picture, but let's look at the other point of view, which says that yes, there's still plenty of time to buy, okay? I don't think it's too late. The vast majority of coins are still under their all-time highs. Even the ones that have broken out are probably gonna go way higher. But before we look at the yes case, guys, if you're trading this cryptocurrency market, I know you are, you need a great exchange to do that, one that meets you where you are, that protects your privacy, that respects your privacy. It gives you the option to long the rips, short the dips, no matter where you live in the world, because it's available in any country, anywhere, with no KYC and no VPN. That place is BitUnix, where I'm doing most of my futures trading these days. And here's the deal. When you sign up exclusively using the link right down here, you're gonna get some pretty awesome deals. You'll get up to $400 in deposit bonus. So that means you deposit $1,000, you get $200 back. You deposit $2,000, you get $400 back cash money in your account. Plus, the more you trade, the more cash back you get as well, up to $9,000 in fact, which is insane. Okay, so links right down here. Go check it out. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's get into the reasons why I think there's still time to position yourself into good cryptocurrencies, but it's not an infinitely open window. The time to do that is closing. A big factor to keep in mind here is that the most parabolic phase of the cycle comes right at the end, and we're probably not at the end right now, okay? In fact, I don't think we are, but we're heading in that direction. We can very possibly still have another 3 to 6 months to go, And that isn't just baseless hopium. It's what happens if trends from past cycles can continue to hold true. Okay, we've got the loosened financial conditions. We have the Trump administration out here being like the most insanely pro-crypto administration ever that literally just wants to pump the markets all the time, whether it be crypto or stocks. We've got institutional flows, and it's not just for Bitcoin anymore, but ETH as well. And not just through ETFs, but through corporations. They're launching ETH strategic reserves and all that kind of stuff. And that's a very interesting development, as we can now see Ethereum taking center stage and playing catch up with huge tailwinds from the Genius Act and meaningful hype around stablecoin, the stablecoin adoption, and real world assets and all this stuff. And that's a big turnaround, by the way, for ETH, which earlier this year was going through a real confidence crisis. And if you've been around in crypto for a while, you'll know the pattern that we're all looking out for. Bitcoin pumps, then it takes a bit of a breather, then ETH pumps, then other coins start pump, and if ETH runs hard enough, it'll drag all the altcoins up with it. This is the thing. You want to root for ETH to win even if you don't have any, because it generally indicates an adequate risk on season. Because if even ETH can pump, then your dog coin has hope, okay? Take a look here at the altcoin season index. You can see it's somewhere around the middle right now, still a pretty long way off full altcoin season territory. And we'll get into full altcoin season territory markers multiple times during a cycle, okay? There'll be risk on, risk off moments and all that kind of stuff, just so you're aware. But altcoins are still a long way off from their all-time highs. Plus, there are really no top signals flashing for the market overall. On-chain and social indicators, apps and stuff like this all indicate that the bull run still has farther to go, even if we're just talking about the next local top for 150K at BTC, maybe 7K for ETH. And if you take a step back to view the wider picture, we've got Bitcoin consolidating, ETH stretching out on a healthy pullback, alts and meme coins waking up, NFTs moving, not something that happens in fragile conditions when people are afraid to take risk. So altogether, a very constructive setup happening for markets right now. So that means you can look for tokens with some kind of strong momentum, okay? And it doesn't always mean fundamentals, because some of the biggest things that pump in the market are meme coins, okay? Now, let's just an example here. Pengu, a coin that I own, by the way. You can see my portfolio disclosures is always down below in the description. But Pengu's been absolutely ripping. It's got the mind share, the narrative, the hype, okay? But don't try to buy it as it's absolutely surging on a giant green candle. Look for pullbacks, okay? That all said, though, if you're trading altcoins, you really need to keep a close eye on something like Ethereum. Okay, basically, alts need ETH to remain strong, and when ETH breaks out to all-time highs, that'll drag the rest of the altcoin market up with it. But remember, no bull run lasts forever, and you're not a genius. It's just a bull market, so take profits along the way. Also, I mentioned at the start, there might even be some advantages to still being positioned in cash, and that's because, look, being locked in, being fully allocated, can sometimes mess with your perspective on reality overall. You can be too locked in, too deep in the woods, too overexposed. But if you have a little bit of cash watching from the outside, you have a more fresh perspective on the market without having the bag bias. And bag bias is a very real thing, man. Don't fade it. You're looking and just thinking, where can I make money? You're not rooting for any particular coin. You don't really care. The communities, the cults, who gives a crap? You're here to make money. You can focus on trade setups, taking profits from a totally neutral standpoint, which might actually make you a better and more efficient trader than those who are stuck in the market all the time. But you need to be aware of where we are in the cycle, as in we are getting to a later inning, but still have a lot of room to run. Whatever you do, you don't want to end up being the bag holder when the music stops. A lot of people will be, but you don't want it to be you. Finally, one more question to consider is, could there be an extended bull market cycle? It's tempting to imagine we might get a longer than usual bull market, and I think there's some very interesting theories to support such an idea, and it is definitely possible. But it's also a dangerous thought. Global liquidity for now is still rising. Those big new players are in the game, the crypto treasury companies, all that kind of stuff. They might be able to act as the marginal buyer for a lot longer than people think and do it in size. Retail traders couldn't possibly match the level of buying that's coming in from institutions right now, and it's absolutely massive. This could extend us. However, that kind of extended bull market isn't the base case right now, although it's a very interesting theory, and we'll have to see in 2026 if it plays out or not. The most likely scenario still is the 4-year cycle where we peak later this year and that we're entering the final phases of the market. But even working on that assumption, there are still a lot of ways to profit from the rest of the bull run. There's a lot of coins that are still going to run super hard, whether it be ones that are still significantly under their all-time highs or just starting to break out now. There's lots of opportunity left, but don't get stuck holding the bag and don't let your bias hold you back from making money. Thanks for watching.